JavaScript is one of the most used programming language across programming world. Be it freshers or experience, whatever the years of experience you are having, if you are going for any full stack interview, you need to be well prepared with JavaScript. Because any front-end language that we are using today, those are built upon JavaScript. So this is the backbone, and you must pay immense attention to build your capability here. In this series, I'll present you some very important topics and interview questions around JavaScript. We'll also use the examples and we'll do coding as we'll go further to give you real feelings of those topics. For that, you can use any online editor while practicing with me. So let's move on one step ahead in your career with me. Let's start our journey from basics and slowly we'll go to the advanced topics. So our first slide today is the data types. In JavaScript, there are two types of data types, primitive and non-primitive. Primitive data types are basic data types that are not objects. They are immutable. JavaScript is having 6 primitive data types. Like undefined, which represents an uninitialized or undefined value. When a variable is declared but not assigned a value. Null represents the intentional absence of any object value. It is a special value that denotes the absence of an object reference. Boolean represents a logical entity and can have two values like true or false. Booleans are used for conditions and logical operations. Number represents numeric values. JavaScript uses the number type to represent both integer and floating point numbers. String represent a sequence of characters enclosed in single quote or double quotes. Strings are used for storing and manipulating text. And the last one is the symbol. Symbol is a new data type introduced in ECMAScript 6. Symbols are unique and immutable values that can be used as keys in object. Non-primitive data type. In JavaScript, non-primitive data types are objects and functions. Unlike primitive data types, non-primitive data types are mutable and can hold multiple values or have methods associated with them. Here are some commonly used non-primitive data types in JavaScript like array, object, and function. So in this example, I'll show you object, array, and function, all three non-primitive data types. See here, this is one person object which is having properties like name, age, hobbies, and greet. Among these properties, hobbies actually one array which is having two values like reading and gaming. Similarly, this function greet will be printing hello, and what is the name we will be passing, that value it will print. Let's run this application. See here, at very first we are printing person name, which is also one property which is printing John. In the second thing, we are printing this array object hobbies, which is printing reading and gaming. And lastly, we are calling this function person.greet, and it is printing hello, my name is John. Whenever you are actually need to work with multiple values, the non-primitive data type is best suitable. What is hoisting in JavaScript? Hoisting is a special feature of JavaScript where variables and function declarations move to the top of their respective scopes during compilation time. This means that you can use variables and call functions before they are actually declared in your code. Here you can see, though we have declared printval at last, during compilation it will be considered at the top and execution will be flawless. So in this case also, the output will be 10 when we will execute this code. Var, let, and const are three different keywords in JavaScript, and you might be using it regularly during your programming journey. So it's important to know about the differences. But before diving into that, we first need to understand what is scope. Then only we can able to relate uses of these keywords. So scope is execution boundary, and this can be defined in two ways: function scope and block scope. Let's understand these things through code. So in this example, the function which I have named at function scope, through this I will present to you the function scope and block scope example. Here you can see at very first I have declared var x equal to from function scope. So this x is now applicable for entire function. So throughout this function anywhere you can access this x, right? That's why here I am printing this one console.log x. Similarly, you can see there is one block like if block, and inside this if block I am also declaring another x variable let x. Interesting fact is there, though this variable's name is same, but it will not throw any error because the first one actually applicable throughout the function and this is only applicable through this block, right? So inside this one, whenever I am printing console.log x, it should refer this scope, not the global one. This will only applicable when this parameter value is more than 10, and that's why I am calling this function with 12. So the expectation is like this parameter value is 12. So the function scope variable will also get called, which is from here, right? And from here on, because as this is actually more than 10, as we are passing 12, so this block also will get called and it will also print this from block x scope. Let's run this thing. See the magic here. This is printing the both the from block scope and from function scope. As we are now aware of the scopes and this variable declaration, let's understand few things about let. You can see here inside this block we have declared one variable let x equal to from block scope, and we have also seen that in the example how it is getting executed. Now if you'll see, if I'll unblock this one, right, x equal to redefine for let, and if we can run these things, we can see we are getting a new value because this is overwriting the old one. That means through let variables we can redefine the value. Now let's try another thing. I am commenting this one and unblocking the above one. Through this I am trying to redeclare the let. Let's see what will happen. Oh, because it will tell you identifier x has already been declared. So that means this let variable is there where you can redefine your variable, but you can't able to redeclare that. You got it? Now another example. Let me change this variable to const. Okay, and let me update this is as const value. Now let me run this. See, I am getting this value. Let me now try to reassign this value. See, this is not allowed. So this is the essence of const, right? Whenever you are declaring one variable is const, you can't able to change that value anymore. So var declaration or function scopes, a variable declared using var can be redefined and even redeclared anywhere throughout its scope. Let declaration or block scoped, a variable declared using let can be redefined within its scope but cannot be redeclared within its scope. Const also are block scoped, a variable declared using const cannot be redefined or redeclared within its scope. I hope you have understood all these differences and you are now pretty much sure when you can use var, let and const. The most commonly used thing is double equal to and triple equal to operators in JavaScript. And this is sometimes very confusing. So double equal to is used to compare values, whereas triple equal to is used to compare both values and types. You can see here in the first example, it will return true as we are comparing 2 against 2, right? X is having 2 and Y is having 2, so that's why it will return true. But in the next example where we are using 3 equal to, in this case, it is going to check for the data types. And if we can see, the X variable is having number data type and the second one Y variable is having string data type. So it is going to return you as false. What is isNaN? isNaN is for identifying a variable which is not a number. So you can see in the below example what I have mentioned, that isNaN hello. This is one string and it will return true because it is a string and that's why it will return true. The second one is isNaN22. You can see this is a plain number because we are not passing these things through any quotes. This is number, so this will return as false. So whenever you are going to check something which is not a number, you should use this isNaN function. This is another interesting feature of JavaScript. Immediately invoked function is a common pattern used in JavaScript to create a function and immediately invoke it. The main purpose of an IIFE is to create a new scope for your code and avoid polluting the global scope with variables and functions. Let's take an example. This is one classic example of IIFE. You can see there are two parts of it. The green part indicates the first parenthesis closure and yellow part is having the second parenthesis closure. All IIFE functions should have these two set of parentheses. Now let's understand the logic behind this parenthesis. The first set of parentheses tells the compiler that the function is not a function declaration. Instead, it's a function expression. Whereas the second parenthesis is for invoking that function. Higher order functions is one of the special mention for JavaScript. This is a function that either takes one or more functions as arguments or returns a function as its result. This concept is derived from functional programming, which treats functions as first-class citizens, meaning they can be assigned to variables, passed as arguments, and returned as values. Here I have presented example from both the types. First one where one function returning another function. And in the second example you can see where one function expecting another function as argument. Currying is a functional programming technique in JavaScript where a function that takes multiple arguments is transformed into a series of functions that each take a single argument. In other words, this converts a function with multiple parameters into a chain of single parameter functions. Let's understand these things through code. You can see here there are two functions, right? The first one is the normal function add, where it is taking three parameters like a, b and c and returning a plus b plus c. As simple as that. The second one is the curried one. Now here is the magic. You can see now that curried add the function is having only one parameter a, and inside this we are returning two other functions for b and c. Okay, so this is the magic, and whenever we are actually calling this function, you can see in the down the line number 16, this is the normal function calling. Like add we are calling with three parameters 1, 2, 3 and it will provide you the output as 6. The second one is the curried one. Here you can see the curried result. This is the variable we are declaring and we are calling this curried add function and we are passing these parameters like this, right? Three different functions you can say. And when I'll run these things, you can see both are returning same 6, 6. So you can see at the second one actually very cleaner code representation. This is all about currying. So guys, that's all for now. I hope this session will initiate the first step for you towards JavaScript learning. I'll be coming back with more things on JavaScript. Till that time, stay tuned. Thanks for your patience and time.